Hi everyone, welcome to another one of our LinkedIn Live events. And today's topic is going to be on untying your self worth with your output. So before I start, I'm just going to quickly see if my audio and video is working fine. And for those of you who are attending this live event for the very first time, or maybe you haven't really watched my live events before, how we do this is I'm going to explain to you one topic in depth, and you can ask me as many questions as you want about that topic. You can either put the questions down in the comment section where the live event is going on, where you can see it, or you can DM me while the event is going on because I do have my phone and I do check for questions in between. And in case if you're watching this as a recording on YouTube, then you can just list your questions down in the YouTube comment section. And again, I also have a free 4-day bootcamp on healing childhood trauma. Which is available for free. You can just find it in the feature section of my profile, or you can just DM me bootcamp, and I'll be happy to share it with you. Okay, let's see if the audio and video is working fine. And I just want to mention that I may have internet fluctuations, and because of that, my audio and video might go up and down. So I apologize for that beforehand because it's been really windy in my area, and like the internet hasn't been that great. Okay, so I think we're doing fine, and we can start. All right. So this is going to be long. So I hope you have your notes with you, and whatever you feel is important, whatever you feel has shifted something for you, note it down and reflect on it afterwards. Okay. Don't let this be one of the events that you watch and you just forget about it. There's no point consuming information if you don't actually reflect on it and act on it. Okay. We are aiming for transformation, not just information, right? If you're not doing your inner work yet, specifically trauma work, then all the information that you consume may not really translate into transformation. Okay, so whatever it is that you find important today, whatever it is that you find shifting for you, just reflect on it afterwards. So as I said, today's topic is going to be untying your self worth from your outcome. Now, this is a really, really important topic, specifically in today's day and age where we live. And from the work that I do, what I've found again and again is that I meet a lot of people who tie their self worth, who tie how worthy they feel about themselves with whatever it is that is they are doing outside of them. Okay, which could be money, which could be how much money they are making, which could be what position they are in, how much other people are appreciating them, how much other people praise them, or what titles they have, what responsibilities they have. Right, so they derive how valuable they are based on something external, and that something external could be anything, right? And that is why today's topic is really, really important, because I think that instead of addressing the real issue of why am I doing it, what we think of doing is that let me make more money so that I can feel more valuable about myself. Let me do this so that people appreciate me, so that I can feel good about myself. Instead of addressing the real problem, we go deeper into the problem. So instead of talking about how can we make more money, how can we do this so that people are impressed by us, how can we do this so that we can appear powerful and this and that, all that nonsense, let's talk about why do we do this in the first place. Why do we tie our self-worth to anything external, and how do we really come out of this, right? So for that, we first need to understand what is self-worth and where exactly it comes from. Okay, self-worth is nothing but how worthy do you feel in yourself. Okay, how worthy do you feel about yourself, how worthy do you feel within, and how worthy do you feel of anything in life, right? So for example, just to explain to you, whatever it is that we do in life, or whatever it is that we want in life, it is in direct correlation with how worthy do you feel of having it. For example, if I don't feel worthy of let's say sharing my views with you, then I would not be sitting here sharing my views with you, right? Similarly, if I don't feel that I'm worthy of love, I may never get into a relationship. If I feel that I'm not worthy of making more money, then I would still stay stuck in positions or in places in my life where I'm not making a lot of money, right? So how worthy we feel actually correlates with everything that we get in life. So Let's talk about where does this self-worth actually come from, right? Self-worth is something that lives inside of you. It's like your kidneys, it's like your lungs, your heart, your liver. It is inside of you. Do you ever wake up in the morning thinking that I'm going to have to earn the right to have my kidney, I'm going to have to earn the right to have my liver, I'm going to have to earn the right to have a heart? No, right? You were born with it, right? And you appreciate it, but you don't wake up and anxiously every single day thinking that I have to earn it, I have to earn my kidney, I have to earn my liver. It's the same thing with self-worth. Self-worth is something that's innate to you. It's something that lives inside of you. And self-worth develops from your childhood. From the moment you're born as a clean slate. You're born like a beautiful clean sponge, and everything that you absorb, you become more of that over a period of time. So if growing up, let's say you always had parents who appreciated you, who encouraged you, who saw you as a person who could be independent, who saw you as a person who was capable, right? Then you automatically sort of adopt their view of you as your own. So whatever it is that your parents think about you, whatever, however they treat you, whatever they teach you, however they make you feel, becomes your own sense of self-esteem, becomes your own sense of self-worth. So your self-worth is completely dependent on how your childhood was. It is not something that you can actually earn. And this is why when you have not had a foundational understanding of self-worth, when the foundation of self-worth has been shaky, or worse, it has never been formed, you look out for it. You look for it outside of you, and you think of you. So it can go two ways. One is that you are either running in life to gain self-worth, right? And second, you think that I'm not worthy at all, so I will give life. This is where a person becomes very passive, very demotivated for anything. They're very passive, become very, I would say, not coming to me, but I would say stagnant. Yeah, they would become very stagnant. We have people who will burn out. In both the cases, the self-worth is not there. Self-worth. Why is self-worth so important? Anything we want in life, right? Because from the moment you're born, right, you want more, right? You want more food, you want to feel happy, you want to feel like you belong, you want to have friends, you want to have relationships, you want to have money, respect in society. Everything is a result of how worthy you feel. In fact, how also a result of how worthy do you feel. That is why a lot of people can have a lot of things, but they don't feel happy with it because they don't feel worthy. um allowing them to feel that. That's how important self worth is. And that is why everything in our life is a result of, and that is why when you come to a point in life where your self worth is really intact, it's very soft, you stop running for you. You become true. Think about where is my time and energy. Whereas when you don't have self, then as I said, you can either become extremely passive, like who are always stagnant, who always can't do anything at all, or we have people on the other spectrum of burnout. Both the cases are terrible, but unfortunately are on a pedestal because we live in a capitalist society, and your burnout benefits huge corporations, right? Your insecurity, your lack of self-worth benefits them because you work more for them and they make more profit off of you. So either of it is terrible. Either of the spectrum is something that does not benefit you. Your passivity does not benefit the capitalistic culture also, and that is why you're made to feel bad about that. But the burnout again does not benefit you, right? It makes you sick. It makes you really really unhealthy. It makes you lose your relationships, but it benefits the capitalistic culture. So people like to promote it that, oh my god, this person is working 16 hours a day, right? Now, what is output? Output can be absolutely anything. Okay, output is not just money, output is not just positions. Output is also something that you get from outside that may not mean money. For example, some people like to take career decisions from a place of that, if I do this, it will sound so respected in the society, so I will pursue this career. A lot of people pursue careers like, okay, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a chartered accountant, I want to become an engineer, or I want to do this, I want to do that, because or I want to pursue positions in the positions that are related to the government. For example, I want to do UPSC, I want to do MPSC, whatever, right? So whatever positions there are in the government. So they do that because they believe that if I have that position, I'm going to have a lot of respect from other people. It can also be people pleasing. People who lack self worth also indulge in that. That they run behind, gaining people's um, like approval, gaining people's appreciation, and they're always running behind what can I do so that people will like me more. So output just does not mean money. Okay, output means anything that is coming from outside, right? Or output, that output is basically something that you are doing to gain something from outside, right? And the innate need is just one. I want to feel good about myself, and if I do this, people will appreciate me, and that is going to be the permission slip that I need to feel good about myself. So that is output. Everything you do to get something from outside. Now, what does it really mean to tie your self-worth with output? So you will see me looking down because I've written a few notes because I really don't want to miss out anything. I'm planning to do these live events just once a week because I have some work apart from that. So I really want once a week that we meet to be a really valuable time for you. Okay. So, what does it mean when we say that we are going to tie our self worth with our output? So, what it really means is that the first thing is deriving self worth from external achievements, which means that every day that I get up, I look for what can I do so that I can feel worthy about myself. Right? This could mean working more. This could be trying to make more money or thinking about money all the time. For example, people who are always thinking about money all the time are not always the people who need that much money, but are the people who believe that if I have more money, people will respect me more. I will be more valuable. Always that okay is an uh, master when, right? So when I say the art of, what I mean is feeling content. I don't mean being passive. I don't mean the other end of the spectrum that I'm not doing anything in my life. I will be dependent on other people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the art of doing nothing without worrying that what is going to happen to me. People who cannot do that usually tie their self-worth with how much they can do. They tie their self-worth with how productive they are being, how much work they're getting done. And these people often turn productive. I'm wasting my time, I'm wasting my life. So their life is all about maximizing productivity, right? And that is why they're unable to actually stay quiet, stay at a place where they're not doing anything, or do things that are not always transactional, right? So I would say that a big part of tying your self-worth with your output is always running behind what can I get in return. For example, you will see that these days, um, when people look at hobbies, they're always looking at how can I make money from it, right? I mean, hobbies have also become transactional these days, yeah. Or the worst, I just wrote a post about it like 2 3 days ago, wherein I'm so tired when people say that rest is productive, rest now so that you can grow even more later, or rest is where your best ideas come from. And I have a very big problem with that. Why does rest have to give you something at all? Why can't rest just be rest? Why can't rest just be something where you're just letting go, but you're not getting anything? Like, to convince people that they should rest, like, you have to make it transactional. It's like, luring a rat that, okay, I'm going to give you cheese, just come out of the hole that you're in. Isn't that sad that even rest has become transactional for all of us? That we have to remind ourselves, no, I need to rest so that I can do more later. No, why do you have to do everything all the time? Why does everything have to be about maximizing productivity? What kind of life is this? And these are the questions we don't ask ourselves when we are running behind earning our self worth. Okay. So, I want to talk a little bit about different aspects of what it can look like, or I would say different things that we run behind when we are talking about trying to honor self worth. Okay, let me see if my audio and video is still working fine. Okay, we're doing fine. All right. So, let's talk about some common tie-ups, right? Because as I said that when we tie our self-worth with output, it doesn't just mean money. But the first is, of course, money. So here I like to give an example of people who tie their self-worth with money. Their self-worth, how good they feel about themselves, how worthy they feel about themselves, goes up when the money in their bank is going up, and it goes down when the money in their bank is going down. Right? It is like that for them. That is why you will often see so many people, I'm going to say that about men as well, because a lot of men have grown up in families where they were told that their entire self-worth lies in how much money they can make. What a lot of people do, and specifically men do, is that they dedicate their entire life to just making money, and over a period of time they become very resentful and very lonely over a period of time, because when you're just making your entire life about money, you have isolated yourself, right? You have alienated yourself from anything, right? And everything is about just money. So you also develop resentment that society is conditioned like that, that they will only value me if I have money. But that's not the truth. That's your childhood, that's your story, right? The people you love made you believe that you're only worthy if you have money. It was not other people. And that's a very life changing realization that happens to a lot of people when they do inner work, that it was not other people, it was the people I loved who made me believe that. And now I'm projecting this out. Other thing is, okay, I think my connection is lost. Okay, I think I'm back. All right. So, as I was saying, the second one is other people's opinions. Here, I will dedicate my entire life to making sure that other people have a good opinion of me. So, everything in my life is about believing that I'm a good person. So, I will do whatever it takes so that this identity of mine, that I'm a good person, doesn't get shaken up. Because only if I'm a good person, according to other people, um, make me worthy. And this is something that I see in women a lot, because women are conditioned to be that way, that your self-worth lies in how much you can do for other people, how much other people like you, how good of a mother you are, how good of a wife you are, how good of a daughter-in-law you are, how good of a employee you are, or whatever, right? So this is where I have seen this very common in women, where they tie up their self-worth with how accepting I become, how much am I compromising, how much am I giving, right? A lot of women tie their self-worth with how much I can give. And again, society has conditioned you to believe that the more you give as a woman, the more worthy you are, the more special you are. And that is why we see that women who are actually relaxed, women who choose to not exhaust themselves, are looked at people who are lazy. And women who are struggling, are exhausted but doing things for other people, are looked at as women, oh my god, who are so strong and so independent. And the same goes with men who choose to have lives where they don't want to exhaust themselves, where they don't want to make a lot of money, where they choose contentment, where they choose times with their families, with their partners, are looked at as men who are not real men. Or men who are emotionally intelligent, who express their emotions, are looked at as men who are not strong enough. So this bullshit, um like affects both men and women, right? And we continue to do this because there are these invisible society norms that we are not challenging, we're just accepting it as our truth, and we are going along, playing a particular role. So this is where roles like being an employee, being a wife, being a mother, being a husband, being a son, being a daughter comes into the picture. Here you gain your self-worth from how good of a role that I'm playing. Wait, not the wrong sentence. How great can I become in the role I'm playing, I would say, right? So for example, if you are a son, Your self-worth can be around how great of a son can I become, like how much money can I make for my dad or mom, and how obedient am I for my mom and dad. I will sacrifice my marriage, I will sacrifice the woman I'm in love with, but so that I can prove how much I love my mom and dad. That same goes with women also, that I will be the obedient daughter, I will be the perfect silent daughter, I will agree to everything mom and dad will say. And my favorite is I will make my mom and dad proud. That's my favorite, because that's the most bullshit thing I've ever heard. You can't make anyone feel anything, right? Your parents, right, they chose to have you. Okay, it is not a transaction that you made with them, that we are giving you birth and now you have to make us proud. That's 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 a transaction, right? And I hope that you don't do it with your kids tomorrow. Your parents had you because they wanted to have you. Okay, and the fact that they clothed you, the fact that they fed you, the fact that they gave you a good life is something that's the bare minimum, because they chose to have you, right? So this pressure that some people take, I want to make my parents proud, or if I do this my parents may not be proud of me, that's just such a deep conditioning of receiving transactional love from your parents, that you internalize it as your own, that I have to make them proud, I have to do something for them. No, you don't. You really don't. You have a life of your own. There's a difference between being grateful and being loving versus simply giving up your life to somehow settle the score with your own parents. And, oh my god, they did so much for me. It's good to be to have gratitude. But sometimes you cross a line. Sometimes it stops being gratitude and it starts becoming self-sacrifice. And I have seen people do that. I have coached so many of my clients around it, and I've seen so many of my clients break down in front of me in tears, explaining to me when they realize just how much they have given up to fulfill this score, to settle this score with their parents. That, oh, they gave me so much, I have to also give them back. And this nonsense is of course programmed by parents into their kids, because it's like intergenerational trauma, right? I was not loved by my parents, so I will also, or I was loved transactionally by my parents, so I'm also going to love my kids transactionally, and the pain continues on until someone decides to break the cycle. So when you're attached to the role that you're playing in life, and as I said, that could be anything: husband, wife, son, daughter, parent, even an employee. When that becomes your source of self worth, that is also tying your self worth with something external. It is not just money or position or fame, it is everything that you run for, to cling on to outside of you, so that you can feel safe inside. Because how worthy we feel about ourselves is directly proportional to how safe and how accepted, how belonged do we feel about ourselves. When I feel worthy, about myself, I accept myself, I feel belonged. And as human beings, it is an innate need to feel that I belong. Like we used to travel in groups, so there was a sense of belonging there. And we crave that sense of belonging, and we are willing to do anything for that sense of belonging, not realizing that that sense of belonging is supposed to be cultivated from inside. It's an inside out approach, not outside in approach. So there is nothing that you have to do to gain your self-worth from outside. What you have to do is the inner work that it needs to cultivate the foundation to feel worthy about yourself, without doing anything, without having to prove something, without tying it to your self-worth. And this is one of the reasons, like some people say that why do people not walk out of toxic relationships, toxic marriages, or toxic workplaces, or they don't stand up to their parents if their parents are being toxic. And to that I always tell people that what you're looking at, like when you're looking at someone who's suffering and you think it's their fault that they're suffering, they did not work out, please understand that you're looking at someone who has tied their self-worth to a particular role in their life, and they're unable to walk out of it because it is their self-worth, their sense of safety from inside that is threatened. So if I'm in a relationship with a man, okay, and my self-worth is tied to how good of a wife am I, because I have been conditioned to raise like that. So if my partner is abusive to me, I will still not walk out. Why? It is not that I don't understand logically that he's hurting me, but I feel so unsafe when I think about walking out of a marriage, because my entire identity is my husband, my partner. When that is the case, I will not walk. I will die in that marriage, but I will not walk out. because the sense of non-safety from inside in my body is just so high. Is It's higher than the abuse I'm enduring outside. And that's why people don't walk out. And that is the same thing that goes with working in toxic situations as well, toxic workplaces as well. When you believe that the money I make from this workplace is bigger than anything, and it is a source of self-worth from me, I will not walk out. You will not walk out from that. So that is how important your sense of self-worth is. Because if you don't have it, you will run after it, or you will cling on to something to get it, but you will need to have it to survive this life. Because sense of self-worth is how safe do you feel. And as your body is designed to be a mechanism to keep you safe. And when I say safe, I don't just mean physical safety. We don't live in a world where we are fighting wars. Like you and I, we are doing white collar jobs. We are sitting behind our desks, right, to do our work. It's not like we're fighting wars. So the question is not of physical non-safety, it's the emotional safety. And what is emotional safety? Feeling like I belong. So when I have been programmed to believe that I need to play a certain role in my life, to do something in my life, to feel worthy about myself, to feel belonged, then I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. And either that self-worth is going to come from what I do, or it is going to come from what I'm doing for other people. That could be in relationships. So let's talk about what happens when we actually do this. What happens when we continue to tie our self-worth with our output, and what is the repercussions of it? I'm going to again check if we have any questions so far. And if you're interested in understanding how our childhood experiences actually shape us, our personality, our relationships, our money reality, and our career, I recorded a fantastic 4-day boot camp on healing childhood trauma a while back. It is available for free. You can just DM me boot camp and I'll send you the link, or you can just go to the featured section of my profile and you can get the boot camp there. Okay, let's talk about what happens when we continue to do this. The very first side effect is comparison. When you tie your self-worth with your output, you constantly compare yourself with other people. Why? Because what you understand how important you are is based on how well you are doing, right? Or how much you're producing, how much you're earning money and stuff like that. So when you compare, you get that sense of safety, that okay, if someone is doing worse than me and I'm doing better than them, that okay, I'm doing good, I'm fine. Or that if someone is doing better than me and I'm not doing as great as them, then I should be anxious and I should try to do more. Because your sense of safety is entirely coming from how much you're doing. And when that is the case, you're constantly scanning in your environment to feel safe. You're scanning your environment to feel how worthy can I feel about myself. So it's like a permission slip that you have to take from other people to feel good about yourself. So here, comparison comes very easy to you. It's very easy for you to compare yourself with other people, because again, right, this feels like a default mechanism. And comparison here is a coping mechanism. Okay, it is not something that you're indulging in deliberately. And that is why I understand if you tell me that, Dianshi, it's not like I'm trying to compare myself, and I get it. I really do. I know you are not. Comparison is a coping mechanism. It's a coping mechanism that you had to develop to find your place in the world. And that has become a habit. That's you coping. The second is that you may feel jealous or envious of other people very easily, because here, when my self worth is tied with something external, as I said, right, it could be anything. Let's take for an example, if my self worth is attached with, let's say, money. Okay, if my self worth is attached with money, whenever I look at someone who's making more money, for me, I automatically, the formula in my head is, if he has more money, he's obviously happy, he's fulfilled, he has a good life, right? My view of life is very unidirectional, right? It is a very tunnel vision. I see someone who's making more money, I automatically assume that they're really really happy, they're very fulfilled. So I am going to feel jealous and envious of anyone who's making more money, right? So world automatically becomes an unsafe place for me, because there will always be people who will make more money than me. Similarly, let's say my sense of self-worth comes from um, being in a relationship, being in a romantic relationship, let's say. So whenever I look at someone who's in a healthy romantic relationship, I automatically assume, right, that they are so happy, they're so fulfilled in life. Or forget even happy, I look at someone who's in a romantic relationship, my assumption is, oh, they are so happy, so fulfilled. Yeah. So, what it can do is it can make you feel jealous and envious of people without really understanding the depth of what they're doing. And it can make you very unidirectional. For example, someone who has a lot of money may not be happy. They have a lot of money, but they're unhappy in other parts of their life. Someone who's in a great romantic relationship, let's say, maybe struggling with their health, maybe struggling with their finances. You really don't know. So, when you become unidirectional in life, you also sort of alienate yourself, because you start becoming jealous and envious of people, so you don't allow yourself to get close to them. And the third is burnout or doing projects to prove yourself. So this is like a related point. So burnout is a very obvious one, because you are trying to earn yourself for through work, right? And there is no end to it, because and this is my favorite statement, you can't have enough of what you don't really need. I want you to hear it again. You can't have enough of what you don't really need. Self worth is something that comes from inside, right? It is not something that you can earn from outside. It really is not. So when you run after it, when you run after something that is supposed to come from inside, you will always keep running. So burnout is going to be a theme in your life. And an extended point of this is taking on projects to prove something. And you must have seen people do that. I'm going to show them how much money I can make. I'm going to show them how successful I can get. I'm going to show them I will do this, I will do that. That's again, like I would say, it's like having a revenge based fantasy of self worth, that I will show them how great I really am, and that's how I will derive my self worth. Or I'm going to take up new projects again and again, so that I can be productive. Because if I'm not productive, then I think I'm not worthy, or I'm wasting my life. And that's why you will see some people really, really struggle to just be with themselves. They need something or the other all the time, and that's exhausting. And because of this, they're also unable to actually examine the quality of their life. You know, they're unable to examine the quality of their life, because they measure it with quantity. They measure it with how much have I done. So quality goes out the window. And that's why you will see some people say that my life just went by, and I didn't know when my relationship went to shit, or when this went to shit, or when that went to shit. It is because you were always running. And this brings me to the next point. And by the way, this also extends to health. you know People who tie their self-esteem, their self-worth with output, always have some or the other health issues. Always, I can guarantee you that. Because your health, right, it requires you to be present. And when you don't have your self-worth within you, you're never present. You're always somewhere. Your attention is always somewhere trying to earn that. So the next point is choosing the wrong career paths. And now this is a very fun one, because people don't realize it. A lot of times, people who don't have the self worth intact, they try to earn it from the uh, most visible thing possible in front of them. And career is a very visible thing, right? So a lot of people get into wrong career paths, thinking that this will give them something that will give them self-worth. So for example, somebody may choose to do an MBA, even they don't want to, because they think, if I do an MBA, my parents will be proud of me. It will be something that will be nice to say in family gatherings, oh, I'm an MBA. Or they have this illusion that if I have an MBA, I will get a good job. If I get a good job, I will make good money, and people will like me. My parents will be proud of me. So their minds work like this. Or you know what, I will if I do that, my parents will be so proud of me. They will tell everyone, oh, my son or my daughter is an IAS or an IPS or an IFS, whatever, right? So a lot of people choose their career paths not based on what they're passionate about and what they're skilled in, but how much respect and how much appreciation they will get from other people. And that's a very fucked up thing. Truly fucked up. Because I have seen many people get stuck in life because of this. They don't choose their career paths based on what they want, but what they will get appreciation for. And such people always hit a stagnation point in their life where they start to question everything. And after that, two things happen. Some people will pivot their career, will reach a point where they're so dissatisfied, yet they don't have the energy to change their career, so they keep on with their dissatisfaction. So your career is also impacted by how worthy do you feel from inside. Coming to the next point, which is anxiety, restlessness, and lack of gratitude. Of course, anxiety is a result of having a problem that is not resolved, and not having self-worth is a problem that is always there unless and until you do deep trauma work, right? I have had clients who have been to multiple therapists, but they could not get their anxiety resolved because their problem was trauma, right? Their problem was childhood trauma. So unless and until we did not work on childhood trauma, that anxiety and that restlessness did not go away for my clients as well. So having having a lack of self-worth, or having your self-worth tied with output, is a problem that is always there, which means anxiety is going to be there, restlessness is going to be there, right? And of course, lack of gratitude, because when your focus is always on what do I need to do more, you're not really focused on everything that you already have, so you don't feel grateful, right? And the last point, which is, I think, a very underrated point that a lot of people don't talk about, which is when you have self-worth issues, your relationships suffer, and you also become isolated over a period of time from your friends as well. Because see, if I'm obsessed with how much money I can make in life, I'm obsessed with how much marks I can get in school, I'm obsessed with how many positions I can get in my life, I am going to put my entire focus on just that, which means I will not have any romantic relationship. Maybe like most Indians do, I will go down an arranged marriage setup. I will get married for the sake of it. I don't care how my marriage really is going, but I will be just concerned with the more money I can make. I will isolate myself from my friendships because I think, it's a waste of time spending time with my friends. My life is just about achievement. My life is just about making money. My life is just about getting good marks, getting fame, because that is how I believe people will value me. So, people who tie their self worth with output become isolated over a period of time because their entire focus is always on what can I do more? How much can I achieve? How much fame can I get? How much recognition can I get? So they don't even value the existing relationships they may have. And it may become too late in their life to realize that, okay, what am I actually doing? What have I actually done? So they don't really live a whole life, right? They don't live a holistic life because they value output so much, they ignore every other aspect and they end up quite lonely. And this is a fleeting realization that builds up with time. It is not something that you always know. I mean, if you're a self-aware person, you will, and you will take steps for it. But for a lot of people, there's a small realization, but then one day it hits you like a truck, that you look around and you realize, okay, I don't really have any meaningful relationship because I didn't care to build one. I don't have friends because I thought friendships were a waste of time. So loneliness is something that can come with this unresolved issue. Now let's talk about why this actually happens. Before I do, I'm going to see if we have any questions so far. Okay, not many questions, but people are very nice enough to comment that they're liking what I'm talking about. So I guess it's landing. Okay, let's move forward to the last two parts of the discussion that we're having today. So, why this actually happens, right? So, here we're going to take a deep look at why do we actually start tying our self-worth with our output? Like, when does this actually start? Of course, there are no prices for answering. It starts from your childhood. So I'm going to talk about a few points in short to give you an idea of why this happens. And of course, you can always watch the childhood trauma healing boot camps to have like an in-depth understanding of it. The very first thing is, your parents loved you only when you achieved something. See, how you treat yourself, right, is a direct result of how your parents treated you growing up. So for example, if right now you have a very transactional relationship with yourself, which means that you only love yourself when you are very productive, you appreciate yourself when you're doing everything, you're checking off your to-do list, you like yourself when you are making money, but you don't like yourself when you're resting, you think that you're wasting your time, right? Or the relationship that you have with yourself is a direct reflection of how your parents treated you growing up, unconsciously or consciously. So, for example, when I say that your parents only loved you when you achieved something, it could mean that, like, if you were not achieving something, let's say you are not like scoring the best marks or something, it's not like your parents would criticize you, but when you get great marks, they will pay extra attention to you, they will love you, they will tell you how great you are, right? So again, this sort of gives you an impression that if I want to be accepted and loved by my parents, I need to make I need to earn good marks, right? Similarly, it can go otherwise also, which means that you were treated bad, you were scolded when you did not get good marks in school. So you understood that if I want to get love from my parents, I need to always have good marks. So that is how you're molded. So when you're loved only when you are creating an output for your parents, that's how you understand that, okay, this is what love is, right? It becomes transactional for you. This can also mean that you're doing something that your parents consider good, right? For example, you are creating a good impression of your parents in front of other people, right? You're doing something that your parents can brag about. Again, this tells you that I have to constantly make my parents proud, and only then will I get love, right? So this can this can turn you into a person who constantly looks for self-worth in how much you are doing, because you believe that that is how I can get love. Second is, your parents' appreciation was also conditional. So there's a difference between love and appreciation. Okay, love is when you feel that warmth from your parents, when you feel that acceptance from your parents. When love from your mom and dad is conditional, they only loved you when you were getting good marks, when you were doing something that that brought them happiness. That's love. Appreciation is when your parents appreciated you only when you were doing something that they considered was good or productive, right? Sometimes your parents love you but they don't really appreciate you, right? They don't really appreciate the things you do. So this can also mean that, and because see, as a child you need both appreciation and love. You need love to feel safe and you need appreciation to feel confident. That is why some people you know may be in love with themselves but they don't feel confident, and some people are confident but they're not in love with themselves, because something or the other may be missing, right? Your parents loved you but they did not appreciate you, or your parents appreciated you but they did not really love you. It could be either way, right? When this is the topic we are talking about, which is tying your self-worth with your output. Now the third is, you saw your parents put emphasis only on external achievements, right? So see, as I said, right, you treat yourself, or your understanding about the world, it starts to form on the basis of how your parents treated you and how what your parents taught you and what you saw growing up. So if you saw that your parents would put extra emphasis on relatives who were making good money, who were in good positions, you would see them talk highly about them. So as a child you're very sensitive to what your parents do, right? So the equation that you form in head is that if someone is doing good in life, in the sense they're making good money, they're studying abroad, or they are doing basically everything that is socially acceptable, they're engineers, doctors, not artists and everything. So when you see that, you again form that formula in your head that, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do to gain mom and dad's love, because everything is about your inner child feeling safe and loved with your parents. Everything is about that. So when you see your parents put excessive emphasis on things like that, you also form that formula in your head. Then I need to do this to gain mom and dad's love. So you do just that your entire life. And another case could be that you saw what lack of external achievement does. So for example, you saw your parents getting humiliated by your relatives. You saw your parents getting treated very badly because they did not have money. You saw your parents um, constantly complaining that life is so bad for us because we don't have money, people don't respect us because we don't have money. When you see this, right, again, what you understand is that to be respected in life, to be loved in life, I have to make a lot of money, because if I don't do that, then people will not love me, people will not respect me, right? And see, the thing is that as a child, you are very sensitive to your parents suffering as well. So when you see your parents suffer, you somewhere make this resolution that I never want them to suffer, because if my mom and dad are suffering, and this is what your inner child believes. When my mom and dad is suffering, they can't be there for me, they can't actually love me. So my mom and dad can only love me when they are happy, so I will take the responsibility on myself, I will make them happy, I will make them proud. So I will make the decision that I will earn a lot of money in life so that they can be happy. And it works like that. That is how the formula start to form in your head in childhood itself, right? And when you haven't been treated right in your childhood, when you haven't been appreciated and loved for the person you were, and you were only appreciated and loved when you were doing something, it can create a childhood trauma wound which you can carry your entire life, right? Okay, let's talk about common myths. Okay, so some people have misconceptions about this tying the self-worth with output, and my favorite one is that my anxiety about achieving more, or my need to achieve more makes me more productive. So here people assume that if I'm anxious all the time, if I'm always running, it means that I'm productive, because they believe that again productivity is the king. How much I can do is the king. And because we live in a capitalistic culture, we also have a consumerist society today, wherein everybody also puts emphasis on how much you can do, how much you can make money. And I wanted to understand how what a great propaganda it is, right? The more you exhaust yourself, the less you are happy, the more you keep on doing, it benefits someone else, it does not benefit you. Always remember, specifically if you're an employee, it does not benefit you doing more. It benefits the people who are corrupt, it benefits the large corporations you're making profits for. You will not find them working that much. They will portray that image, but they will not do that, they will actually live their life. So when you keep on doing more and more, it benefits them. But people who have this don't understand this. They believe that my need to achieve more motivates me. And again, one of my favorite is that if I don't push, I will become lazy. It's as if the only way I can be productive is if I keep on feeling dissatisfied, if I keep on pushing, if I keep on hustling. And this is again lack of self-belief also. That I don't believe that I can actually rest and achieve. I don't believe that I can achieve sustainably. Achievement can only happen to me in extremes. I am burning out, but I am achieving. I am hustling, but I am achieving. My only focus in life is, my goals, but that is okay with me. And of course, the last one, which is people will only love me if I achieve. This is again a misconception that you learn from your childhood, but you project it onto the world. And you will often see this recent wave of this Andrew Tate fans on internet, like very gullible boys who believe this, right? Because it's the way you were treated. Because again, men are treated like that. Unfortunately, it's the way you were treated growing up in your childhood, and someone comes in and sort of intensifies that feelings for you, that as a man your only worth lies in how much money you can make. So that feeling intensifies, right? So you start believing that people will only love me if I make more money, and then you blame the world, right? So for example, you will see a lot of men do that. A lot of men blame that women only love us if we make a lot of money. And the thing is that I've spoken to a lot of people, and I do a lot of I read a lot of researches and everything. What I found is that most men who actually believe this or say this have never actually had women who treated them that way. It was their family members that treated them that way. It was their family members who made them believe that you're only good when you're making money, or they only appreciated, they were only appreciated by their family members when they were doing something. It was not the women in their life, it was not the friends in their life, it was not anyone else in their life. So when you believe this, you basically, instead of healing the childhood trauma that was caused by your parents, you blame it onto other people, and you believe the world is a bad place. And that goes for women also, right? A lot of women believe that if I'm not the perfect wife, if I'm not submissive, I will not really get a good man in life, or I will not really be able to be in a relationship, right? And this is something that you have been taught. So unless and until you're not willing to step out of it, you will keep on continuing this reality, thinking that this is the only way things will work out for me, and ultimately it is not working out for you because you are unhappy. This is an illusion of safety. Now, let's come to how can we actually come out of it, right? How can we actually come out of this loop of tying our self-worth with our achievements? So far we have understood that tying our self-worth with our achievements does not bring us anything but pain, basically losing our life to just false productivity, which does not benefit us at all. So the first thing to understand is that you have to build your self-worth from foundation level. Okay, self-worth is something that you are not going to on outside. It is not going to be result of any framework, mental mindset hacks, or any bullshit like that. Okay, self-worth is something that is built on a foundation level when you connect with your inner child. So this is where you need to do trauma healing and you need to do inner child healing work, right? This is where you need to really sit with each and every part of your inner child that has felt wounded, that has felt hurt, that has felt that I cannot exist in this life if I'm not producing something, right? So this is where I help my clients connect with their inner child, and we do trauma healing on each and every trauma wound my client has had, which has led them to become this person. See, because I know that when you start this journey, it's going to feel that I don't want to tie my self-worth with my achievement, but I can't help it. I get it, right? It happens to every single person who has this, because you didn't start to tie your self-worth with your achievements because you wanted to. You had to survive, because you believe that's the only way people would love and accept me. So I get it. But understand that if you really want to reverse it, you're going to have to form your self-worth from a foundation level, which means that you need to do trauma healing work. Simply talking, simply reading about it, consuming information isn't going to change anything, right? Because what tends to happen is that it will take one upsetting conversation, one tragedy in life, or something going bad in life, and you will go back to their same way of existing, which is I will hustle, hustle, hustle. So if you really want a permanent shift, then you need to do trauma work, right? You need to do inner child healing. You need to go to the root cause of why it has come to you, right? Why you're so attached with your work, why you're so attached with money, why you're so attached with external achievements, right? And you also have to commit to your inner child's growth over your impatience. See, something I've seen with people who tie their self-worth with their achievements is they're very impatient. Why? Because when there's so much pain inside of you, when you don't have self-worth from inside, you're carrying pain. That's a fact. When your self-worth is not intact, there's a lot of pain inside. So that pain is growing every single day. And as you age, you become more and more impatient. Let me just make a lot of money. Let me just get to the success very fast, knowing that you are not going to get there unless you go through the process, and knowing that if you don't go through the process, right, you will not be able to actually handle or sustain that success. You must have seen that some people daydream about winning a lottery, daydream about wish I could just marry rich, wish I had just like a lot of generational wealth. What is that? That is someone who has tied this self-worth with something external. They are not actually in the process of building something. They're not in love with the process of building something. They're in love with the money or the external achievement. Why? Because they believe it can heal the pain that they feel so deeply from inside. So you are going to have to be patient with your inner child. You're going to have to be the parent to your inner child that your parents could not be when you were young. So you have to commit. Being impatient, asking how fast can we do this, isn't going to work. I have had a few people who have asked me that, and I always tell them that if you treat yourself again like a transaction, you're no better than how your parents treated you, and you are not doing anything different, to be honest, right? And if you're someone who actually wants to do this deep inner work, I have helped countless clients of mine get over this habit of tying their self-worth with their achievement and become the most confident version of themselves. And they have done quantum leaps in their life, right? My clients have started businesses, my clients have done job changes, my clients have made a lot of money, all because they stopped tying their self-worth with it, right? And most importantly, what happened was that they started living a really happy, balanced, and fulfilled life, right? And the irony is that when you actually stop running behind something, that's when it actually comes to you, right? And at the end of the day, you have to understand that it is not about how much money you make, right? How many relationships you've been in. It is about how well you've actually lived. How fulfilled do you feel from inside? If I have $1 million in front of me and yet I don't feel worthy within, no matter how many vacations I take, how much money I have, I'm not going to ever feel fulfilled, which means that the money that I have, I'm unable to experience that money, right? It's the same thing with relationships also. No matter how many relationships I'm in, right? I can't feel that love inside, right? I can't feel it because I don't have the self worth for it. So everything is useless if you don't have the capacity to feel it, if you don't have the capacity to hold it in your body. So if you're someone who's actually looking to live a more balanced, fulfilled life, then you're very welcome to book a one-on-one session with me. You can just DM me coaching, and I will send you a link, or you can just find the link to book a session with me in the feature section of my profile on LinkedIn. And of course, if there are any other questions you have for me, you can just drop me a DM, and I'm always here to answer that. I'm going to see if we have any questions. Okay, somebody has just commented boot camp. Okay, so you need to DM me boot camp, and then I'll send you the boot camp link. And again, if not, you can just find it in the feature section of my profile. Thank you so much for joining. For those of you who watched it live, and for those of you who are probably watching this as a recording, whatever questions you may have, whatever it is that you would like to talk about, you can always share it in my DMs. And I also have a free WhatsApp community called the Safe Space where I write daily. So if you're a personal growth enthusiast, I think you will love it. So you're very welcome to join us there as well. Thank you for showing up. Bye bye.